Good evening, everybody. David McCoy, Ochimo Properties, Real Estate Matters. We are continuing our series on frequently asked questions of commercial real estate, and we're continuing our focus on the landlord. So one question that comes up sometimes from landlords is, which expenses are mine to pay and which expenses should belong to the tenant? And once again, the answer is that depends. There is no set definition for that. It will depend. And I would say it would depend on a number of factors. We've talked before about different kinds of lease terms we might do. If you have a gross lease, you may be telling the tenant that you pay the insurance, taxes, utilities for that property. If you have a full service lease, you may pay all of that plus a few other things, maybe janitorial, maybe some cable, maybe some other things along that. If you have a triple net lease, then the opposite could be true, that the tenant pays the taxes and insurance and utilities. So it is, it's a combination of what you offer and ask for and what is negotiated in that lease. You can have situations, it's usually, normally if you have what is called a single tenant net leased property, and you'll see that definition sometimes, STNL. That stands for single tenant net leased. In that situation, usually you have a property and you have one tenant, just one tenant. They're the only ones using that property. And so that whole building, you know, when you have a multi-tenant property, we've talked before about CAM, common area maintenance, where the maintenance of that property, the cost is split among the tenants based upon how much, what percentage of that property they are renting. But if you are the only tenant, then 100% of that would go to you. So often with those kinds of properties, if it's just one tenant and they're the only one using it and they have control over it, oftentimes their lease will say that they do all the maintenance, that everything is theirs, that they maintain the interior of the building and the exterior of the building. And that would include the parking lot and the sidewalks, snow removal, pretty much all of that. But it really does depend. And so part of that will be a negotiation. Another part of that will be, what are similar properties in that area doing? Because certainly you can ask for any of these things. You can ask for them, but whether or not you can get them, it's going to be a marketplace where people are checking to see what they get in similar properties. And if you are way out of line from what the rest of the market is doing, then more than likely that's going to be difficult to achieve. So you kind of have to know what's common with other people, what kinds of things they might be doing. There'll be some situations many times where, especially in a multi-tenant type property, where the tenant is responsible for pretty much everything inside their space. The landlord doesn't want to be called if your toilet clogs. The landlord doesn't want to be called if, a light burns out. And so that's all up to you. Now, many times the lease will require the tenant to keep that in good shape. You can't just, let the space decline and not take care of it because you don't want to spend it. But then the landlord would be responsible for the exterior. They would be responsible for pretty much anything on the exterior of the building, the roof, the structure, doors and windows, it depends upon the property. Many times for like retail properties, it's commonly expected that the tenant takes care of any maintenance to windows or doors. But those are just kind of little things. So there is no definite answer to that, but you should try to make yourself aware of what other landlords are offering, because you want to be in line with what the market is. Like everything else, we're market driven here. You don't want to be asking way more than what the market is, and because you won't be able to do it. And again, it also depends upon the demand, the type of property you have. If you have a kind of property that is in high demand right now, well, then you can ask for more. But if the demand is not very high right now and you're competing with a whole bunch of other people, you have to be able to make an attractive offer to be the one who is able to get that tenant. So the takeaway here is really there is no definite answer to that, although there will be some norms, and those norms will need to fall in line with the current market conditions. And so you need to stay aware of what those are when you are trying to lease your property. So I hope that answers your question. There's a lot to kind of unpack in that particular category. And of course, this is just a general answer. So if you have more specific questions about this, please feel free to give me a shout, leave a comment below, or email me or something along those lines, and I'd be glad to try to answer a more specific question if you have one. If this has been helpful to you, I hope you will click like. If you think someone else might benefit from seeing this, please share it. And if you want to see more of these in the future, I hope you will click subscribe. This may be wrapping up the commercial real estate frequently asked questions. I have to kind of look through and see, but that may be wrapping up sort of this category that I've been covering. So I'm going to review it and see, but I think that we may be moving on to a different set of questions coming up with our next videos. So I hope everyone's having a great day today, and I hope have a great evening this evening. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.